Welcome to the Vine Resources Podcast Show.
Welcome to another edition of the Vine Resources Podcast Show. Today, I'm delighted to have with me Richard Hartley. Richard is the co-founder and CEO of Cytora. Richard, thanks for joining me.
Great to be here.
Richard, and I'm wonderful to be in your offices today, and I have to say it's a fabulous environment walking in the building here. Richard, I'd love to find out a little bit more about your company. If you can give us just a brief introduction about the business.
Absolutely. So Cytora help the commercial insurance industry target, select and price risk using artificial intelligence and billions of external data points. We help the kind of average business find a fairer price for their insurance. We do that by giving a more kind of truer representation of the business. Insurance companies ultimately price that more accurately instead of kind of relying on small amounts of data, using huge amounts of data to really differentiate the risk at the highest level of granularity. Helps the insurance company deliver insurance in a more cost-effective way, and it helps the buyer of the insurance get a fairer price.
Fantastic. And this is an industry that hasn't changed a lot in a number of years. What are you seeing as the opportunities for your customers to use your services, for example?
Yeah, so I mean, you're completely right. The average age of an insurance company today is about 95. When you look at the kind of FTSE 500, the oldest companies are insurance companies. So by definition, they haven't changed a lot in the last kind of 100 years. We're really helping them change that by bringing cutting edge technology to how they ultimately select and price risk. That's really, really hard because ultimately insurance, one of the most interesting things about it is you don't know the cost of the insurance at the point you have to price the policy. If you think about you buy a laptop, it's already been manufactured, so you already know the cost of it, so you can charge a price that covers the cost. The event happens or doesn't happen way out in the future, so you have to predict what that will be. That's really, really hard to do. Historically, insurance companies have used people to do this. We're helping them by using data. We bring in huge amounts of data, we use algorithms to learn the patterns of good and bad risks within the data, and then we help them use that to ultimately make a better prediction and set a more accurate price for an insurance policy.
And you're around about 60 to 70 employees, aren't you? And your customers could be anywhere in the world, is that right?
Yeah, we've grown really quickly. We've doubled the size of Cytora in the last 8 years, and that's really been driven by customer demand. So really, really exciting place to be. Our customers are mostly in the UK and Europe, although we are expanding to Australia and the US. But our core focus is on the UK.
Well, I'd love to know a little bit about what a typical day looks like in the leader for you, especially as a fast-growing company. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm probably, to my benefit, but also kind of problem is I'm quite an obsessive personality. So I wake up quite early. I generally have a kind of early call with our general manager in Australia, who's obviously on a different time zone. So he's probably operating around 8 o'clock his time in the evening. We then will have probably a very brief, what we call sprint planning, just to get everyone in the room of a particular team and kind of work out what did we try and do yesterday, what are we doing today, and we pick up anything that's probably really, really important or really urgent. I then probably spend about 30% of my time with customers, making sure we're delivering products that generate value to them. I also work quite closely with our kind of talent and hiring team. We hire the best people, focusing on quite differentiating people who have a peculiar view of the world, who really can bring that to bear on how we think about the problems we're solving. And lastly, I'm obviously responsible for the financial health of the company. So I also work on our kind of general investment strategy and relationships with shareholders. So in the evening, I probably catch up with a few calls with some of our investors.
It's a full-on day.
It is, yeah, but it's really fun. I kind of learn so much. So a growing company always has tremendous volatility,
of course,
but it's also truly exciting.
Yeah, I agree. What perhaps over the years, is there anyone who's been a mentor to you, perhaps someone you've looked up to? And can you share perhaps a little bit of insight into that and how they've helped you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'd probably pick out our first investor, Paul Forster.
Okay.
Paul kind of started 2 companies. The second company he started was Indeed.com, the vertical search engine. He grew that company 7 years to exit of 1.4. And yeah, but Paul always kind of, he invested originally in Cytora about 4 years ago, but he was always very, very clear on focus. Make sure you're just doing one thing really, really well and relentlessly execute against that. That was important for me because I'm someone, I have like quite a few ideas, But yeah, Indeed.com did one thing very well, that was build a job search engine. And that's the kind of insight I've brought from that and tried to apply to Cytora.
Fantastic. What about employee engagement? Now the company's growing, what do you do from the top, particularly to keep your employees engaged?
Yeah, so we think a lot about giving our employees a line of sight. So when you see an empowered team, they know what they're building, they know why they're building it, they know why it's changing the world, and they can connect an individual task that might take a day to complete to a mission which might take 5 years.
Yeah.
So I work a lot on the kind of reasons why we're doing this, and developing that into language easy to ultimately understand, and gives employees a kind of meaning about why they come to work. And for me, that's really about fairness, taking an industry that has been traditionally quite opaque and making it fair, and kind of also making insurance something that people actually feel value from buying, rather than a lack of trust. So that's some of the more qualitative reasons why people come to work here, and they're excited by changing a paradigm. Obviously, everyone, but I think only kind of being big doesn't resonate. It's kind of ultimately like, why are you doing it? So I think there are more philosophical dimensions there. So I think about what the values of the companies are, what the mission of the company is, and what our vision is for the future. And I try and over-communicate that. That's probably a learning I've had in the last kind of year or so, is you can kind of say something once, and some people understand it, but if you say something again and again and again, people really start to listen, and that's important for a leader.
What do you think the biggest challenges facing business leaders in today's market?
I think it depends a bit on what type of business that they're running. I think for a company in my stage, I think it's ultimately about how do you scale quickly, which is often empowering people around you rather than trying to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So when I think about kind of how do you move from a 70-person company to a 700-person company, it's about setting incentives and hiring people who can do a better job than you in particular areas, ultimately allowing you to gain leverage. For a larger company, I think it's often how do they disrupt themselves? How do they become a company before a startup replaces their business? So I think that if you're running a large insurance company today, it's basically how do you keep hitting your quarter by quarter targets, but at the same time, over a 5-year trajectory, fundamentally transform what you do. So you're still around.
How would you help a new employee understand the culture when they join the company?
I would. So the process we have today, we have a kind of two-week onboarding structure. So every team lead will spend time with a new employee, giving them at least an hour session on what that particular team does. In terms of cultural values, I spend time with each new employee talking about the culture and 3 of our underlying values. To give you a kind of example of that, a value we prize quite a lot in this company has been like radically transparent, being very direct about what we're doing and why something. So that's the kind of value I'll say, okay, well, after every meeting, we have a retrospective. What does a retrospective mean? It means we're going to work out what went well, what didn't go so well. We also have a section in that meeting where you can give me, for example, targeted feedback on where I could have improved, and I'll do the same for you. So I try and make sure that the cultural values are very defined up front. Then the question is, well, how do we actually make sure they're permeated? So then we kind of make sure the values are reinforced through the company. Fridays, we have what's called a town hall, where every team will talk about what went well, what didn't go so well in the week. And we have a section of the town hall where anyone can ask a question, either live in the moment or beforehand, and anyone in the company can be called on to answer it. And that again kind of creates this very kind of democratic momentum in the company where like anyone could be held accountable for something.
Fantastic. Even to yourself, of course.
Yeah, and I love a kind of heavy feedback culture. It's something I didn't, 4 years ago when someone kind of gave me a point of feedback or critical feedback, I'd feel like pretty uncomfortable. Yeah. But I kind of over time tried to kind of grow to love it, because I think it's the only way you learn.
What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received yourself?
I'd probably say the best one was know what you don't know as a crucial one, because I think otherwise people, they can be overly confident about everything and obviously make a huge amount of mistakes, whereas the more doubtful you are about stuff, the easier it is to evolve. So a practice I generally try to adhere to is kind of say, I think we should go with this approach, we should kind of make this decision, but I'm pretty doubtful whether it's the right one. And just be like very clear in my mind, do I have good evidence to back it off or no, I don't. I think if you don't, you should still make it. And you can still make a decision at high degrees of velocity, but you can be clear at the point you make the decision that you're not really basing it on much. I think it's a good practice because it educates people that a startup is operating in massive uncertainty and needs to move fast, but it's going to make quite a few decisions that will be wrong. Kind of good piece of advice I had. I didn't get that from in person. I read a book by a guy called Charlie Munger on that, and he kind of makes a big point about being clear what you don't know.
What's the, leading on from that, what's perhaps the mistake you've witnessed leaders making more frequently than others?
I think mistakes I see made with companies when they believe they have product market fit before they do. So they try and scale too early, and they kind of something you hear about Airbnb in the early stages. They went to every single apartment and onboarded every customer. But I think a lot of companies go past that point too quickly, and they try and automate everything before they've actually even found a problem they can solve. And I think that's often driven by the kind of tech crunch culture where everyone wants to scale, everyone wants to optimize. But ultimately, you can only do that when you have the foundations in place. The other mistake I think companies of Cytora's equivalent kind of make is people always talk about raising money, like it's some sort of badge of honor. They'll kind of be like, I'm raising money, who are you raising money from? And the point is, like, the key is like not to raise money. Be so successful you don't need to. Going back to Indeed.com, just raised 5 million. But in London, I think there's often this kind of pride about like raising money and kind of the valuation becomes more important than the measurable value your product makes. I think that's a right way around. Yeah.
That's a great point. What if there was a trait or behaviour that you've seen derail more leaders' careers, or you think that made derail their career, what would it be?
I think not being good at listening, especially if you have an early leader who maybe doesn't have that much experience and they move into a new phase of growth. And the difference between what made you successful when you were under 20 people to that stage when you were 100 people moving to 500, they're two very different phases. And trying to extrapolate one into the other is probably a foolish thing to do. So I think it's really important to listen. And also to be like self-aware enough to know when what you're good at is not right for the next phase of the company. So I think there's generally two phases of the company. One is where vision, and it's ultimately persuading someone of some idea is like going to change the world. Another phase is more about, well, how do we just optimize? How do we scale more rapidly? And for that phase, you need people with really proven skills. And that's something I try and think about myself, which is like, am I right for this next phase? As a CEO, am I the right person to be CEO? And I hope if there's a phase that I'm not right for, I'll have the kind of just the context to say the company needs someone different at this stage. Like I'm probably not, but I think everyone should have that mindset if you're in a leadership position.
I think that's a great point, and it's great that you're even thinking about that and being so honest and sharing that with our listeners, for example. How do you see your industry changing 2 or 3 years from now? And the second part of that question is, how do you think that will affect your ability to attract and retain the right talent?
It's a good question. So I think the insurance industry, for example, it will be heavily automated. I think a lot of decisions right now are manual, which means for your business, you'll pay an insurance company money for your kind of liability or property policy. For every pound you pay them, 40% disappears just through the cost of them delivering the insurance back to you. So insurance, to take an industry, will be heavily automated. Machines will do underwriting, humans will do less underwriting. That's because it's a very task-based approach, very task-based process. In terms of kind of the technology industry, in terms of kind of what we think about software companies or data analytic companies, I think the costs of actually building things like AI and machine learning will go down, because there'll be more solutions just made horizontally. Companies will just provide all the tools. So probably the talent who can actually build very original solutions will be harder to find. And we're thinking about this quite a lot, which is like it's very hard to find data scientists who have put machine learning models into production. You can definitely find a lot of talent, which is like, did a PhD at a university, but finding someone who can put it into production, can evidence measurable value from it, that they're very, very few. That's what we struggle with, and I think that will continue to be something that's a really, really prized skill set. I also think another skill set that will probably increase in value and maybe in scarcity too is data scientists who can build interpretability or explainability into machine learning or artificial intelligence approaches. As AI becomes more, how does AI interface with a human? How can a human interpret the output of an AI-based model? That skill set doesn't really exist today because it's obviously very much on the frontier, but it will become a lot more important as the industry matures.
If you were giving your 20-year-old self advice, looking back, what's the one thing you'd say to yourself now?
I would say seek difference. So do something that I believe is valuable. So be like super contrarian. I always think it's a mistake when I see people who do a master's that go into law. Law is kind of like everyone has the same skills. You have hundreds of lawyers, thousands of lawyers in every firm who can do what you do. But I think very few people kind of look at the world and think, well, the world will need this skill set. No one's doing it today. I'm going to go and learn this skill set. So I think it's a point of be different. Try and be a monopolist. Be the only one that can do something as opposed to one of hundreds.
Yeah.
The other way to think about that is think about the intersections. Can you kind of be the one person that can ally cognitive psychology with philosophy? Because there's probably some really interesting intersection between the two. So yeah, that's personally how I feel about it. I think it's better to be scarce and kind of have a knowledge base that everyone knows.
Richard, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. What's the best way if people want to reach out, find out more about the company or connect with you?
They can either email me, richard@cytora.com, or our hiring lead, Ben at cytora.com. Ben is someone who's very happy to have a conversation, either a kind of speculative one about what jobs could be relevant at Cytora, or if someone has a direct applicant, he can advise them whether they're a fit. And likewise, I'm very happy to kind of reach out to anyone who's interested.
Fantastic, and obviously they can go to cytora.com to learn more about the company. Fantastic, thanks for joining me.
Thanks very much.